My dear students, today we are going to discuss ICSE 7th class history, chapter 1, the medieval world, and today we shall discuss the rest of the chapter, that means from page number 4, 5 and 6. In our earlier class we discussed the first 3 pages. So let's have a brief recap. In your 6th class you read about ancient history, and from 7th class we have to read medieval history. We read also about the origin of the word medieval, that is made up of two Latin words, medias and evum. We read about medieval era of the church and the Renaissance, then about the Arabs and Islam, then Mongols and medieval period in India. Last time we discussed that with the death of Harshavardhana there was the ending of ancient period in India and the introduction of medieval period. Now today we are going to discuss sources of information for Indian medieval history. What are the sources of information? I am reading actually from page number 3, 2 lines are left there. Historians use various sources of information to find out about different period of history. Now page number 4. Historians use various sources of information to find out about different periods of history. We have already learned about the sources of ancient Indian history. Let us look at some of the sources of information for medieval Indian history. As you can remember your 6th class, sources of ancient Indian history, there you read about archaeological sources, then oral tradition. In archaeology it includes fossils, artifacts, etc. etc. Sources of prehistory and sources of history also. And sources of history are mainly written records. Written records, different types of religious, secular books, travel literature or travelogues, and sources also include monuments, different types of monuments, coins, seals, etc. Now let us look at some of the sources of information for medieval Indian history. Books and other written accounts. A number of writers, both Indian and foreign, wrote many kinds of books on India. These books help historians in getting a clear picture of how India was socially, culturally, and politically back then. Some of these books are listed in the table below. So, number of writers who are both Indian writers as well as foreign writers, and from their books we can know about our society, our culture, politics, everything of that period. Inscriptions and coins. Inscriptions and coins are also important sources for studying the history of a particular period. We also discussed this thing in 6th class, as you can remember, inscriptions and coins. And there is a picture, and let me read the description. An illustration from Akbarnama. Such illustrated books contain a wealth of information. They give us an idea of the lifestyle of the people, the clothes they wore, and architecture of the time. From this kind of picture, from this kind of illustration, we can get the idea like this. From the very picture itself, we can get the idea that what kind of clothes were used by the people of that time, by the monarchs or by the kings or emperors of that time, etc. And so many other information from the very picture we can get. Now there is a list of books by Indian writers and by foreign authors. Name of the book Katha Sarit Sagar, author Somdeva, written in Sanskrit. Then date, subject, a collection of adventure stories. Shishupala Badha, author Maga, Sanskrit, 8th century, a story from Mahabharata. Raj Tarangini, Kalhana, written in Sanskrit, 12th century, an account of the lives of achievements of the kings of Kashmir. So by reading that list, you can get the idea, and this list is also very important for short questions. There are the books written by foreign authors also, like Tahqiq-e-Hind, Chronicles of India, Rihala, that means travels, the travels of Marco Polo, Babarnama, Akbarnama, and at least you should remember the names of the author, like Al-Biruni, Ibn Battuta, Marco Polo, Babar, Abul Fazl. Side by side our Indian authors also, and in which language these were written, like Persian, Arabic, French, Turkish, Persian, and about which say for example Tahqiq-e-Hind is about, among other topics, the book also contains a vivid account of the reign of Mahmud of Ghazni. Rihala gives an account of the reign of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. Travels of Marco Polo, it gives an account of India as Marco Polo saw it on his visit. French traveler Marco Polo. Then Babarnama, written by Babur himself, an autobiography of the Mughal ruler Babur, written in Turkish language. And Akbarnama, written by Abul Fazl in Persian language, an account of the life and times of Akbar, the Mughal emperor. So these are biographical books and autobiographical. However, let's discuss that point, inscription and coins. Inscriptions and coins are also important sources for studying the history of a particular period. Let's go to the next page, or move to the next page. There is a picture. This inscription is part of the eye-hole pillar inscriptions composed by Ravi Kirti, describing the life and times of the Chalukyan king Pulakesi II. It was written in Sanskrit. In India, copperplate and stone inscriptions list the names of kings and those who gifted land to the temples and to scholars. Inscription, as you know, a kind of writing on hard surface like stone, like wood, etc., instead of paper. So in India, copperplate and stone inscriptions list the names of kings and those who gifted land to the temples and to scholars. So from inscriptions we can get the informations about the kings, names of the kings and other persons who donated their land to the temples and scholars. A very simple example let me give you. In our present time also, you can find in some temples, in the entrance of some temples or religious places, names of several persons are written who donated. Names of the donors are inscribed on rocks or white stone. So this tradition was carried down from ancient period. From ancient India or medieval period also we can know the names of the kings and other kind-hearted persons who donated their lands and donated money, their assets. Coins give us details about rulers and about the kingdoms, trade and economy. The Mughals in medieval India paid salaries in cash rather than in kind. So there was a high circulation of silver coins called rupaya and gold coins called mohar. These coins provide useful information about the Mughal period. So coins give us details about rulers and about the kingdoms, trade and economy. From the coin we can know about the rulers in detail, about the trade or business and the economic condition of that period. Why economic condition? Say for example, if we find any gold coin, so we can easily understand that at that time gold was easily available. That means economic condition was very developed. If we can find silver coin, copper coin, so we can understand the situation of that time. So the very metal of which this coin is made, that also gives an idea of the economic condition of that period. Besides, sometimes so many other writings are inscribed on the coin, and from those inscriptions we can get lot of informations. As for example, the Mughals in medieval India paid salaries in cash rather than in kind. So there was a high circulation of silver coins called rupaya and gold coins called mohar. Silver coins are called rupaya. Rupa, rupa, that means one kind of silver, and gold coins were called mohar. These coins provide useful information about the Mughal period. Monuments. India is full of temples, mosques, tombs and monuments built during the medieval period. Some of them are in ruins today, but many are intact and still in use. These buildings tell us about the lives of the rulers and common people. We will read more about them in the chapters that follow. So India is a country, that is full of monuments, especially due to the Mughal rulers and Delhi Sultanate period also. In Rajasthan also we find many forts built by the Rajput kings and our Islamic rulers, Muslim rulers, the Mughals, the sultans, they also build different types of monuments, and these monuments also give us a lot of information. As for example, there is a picture, the Buland Darwaza at Fatehpur Sikri is one of the finest examples of medieval architecture in India. So from this architecture, from this monument, we can have an idea of that period. Mohar, a gold coin from the Mughal period. Statue of Buddha at Borobudur. Around the world at this time. During the medieval period, a large part of Southeast Asia, including the islands of Sumatra and Java, was ruled by kings of the Shailandra dynasty. They built a magnificent temple at Borobudur in Java dedicated to the Buddha between 750 and 850 CE. It is believed to be the largest Buddhist monument in the world. There are 9 levels of stone terraces with exquisite statues of the Buddha adorning the stupa on top. It proves the advanced architectural skill of the people of Southeast Asia at that time. Locate Java in your school atlas. Find out when Buddhism reached Java. However, here we end our discussion on this chapter because this is the ending, last phase. In the meantime, by following the earlier class, once again you give a revision to the whole chapter, and after that try to solve the book work backside objective questions by yourself, and we shall meet in our next class. Thank you.